friends, I'm Stephanie and I'm so glad you're here. Today I'd like to share the 3 most important things I've learned about watercolor. I wanted to put this video out there especially for all of you beginners so that you can learn from my mistakes and get a head start on your watercolor journey with these things in mind. So let's get started. Number 1, when it comes to supplies, paper is the most important. You can get away with using cheap paintbrushes, you can get away with using cheap paint. You cannot get away with using cheap paper. There's special qualities in good watercolor paper that allow you to do things with the paint that other papers don't. So if you're trying to experiment with wet on wet technique and you have low quality paper that doesn't absorb any of the water or it dries instantly, you're going to have a really hard time mastering that technique. If you're wanting to blend colors together to soften edges after they've dried, but you have low quality paper, it will probably pill and could even tear, so your painting isn't going to come out the way that it should. It's nearly impossible to practice these techniques without good paper, and the paint and water will behave differently once we switch to good quality paper anyway, so it's like we have to learn it all over again. The worst part is, you may end up feeling like all of these failed attempts at practicing these techniques is your fault when really, it's the fault of the paper. You could be doing absolutely everything right, and the paper is failing you. As you're budgeting for this new watercolor hobby, set aside a decent chunk for your paper. You will be so happy that you did. As always, look for 100% cotton and 140 pound. Why 100% cotton? 100% cotton absorbs water and pigment best. It's durable and can handle being re-wet multiple times and even scrubbed. It resists buckling and warping compared to other papers. Why 140 pound? Not only is this the most common type of watercolor paper out there, it's also more affordable than heavier papers. The higher the weight, the thicker the paper is, so the better it can handle water. Anything less than 140 pound is more susceptible to warping, bending, and buckling when water is added to it, which, in watercolor, it's basically guaranteed that you're going to be putting water on your paper. Watercolor paper comes in cold press or hot press. Some brands come in rough grain as well. I usually recommend cold press. It's textured and absorbs water better. It allows for softening and blending techniques, whereas hot press is smooth and it's best for very detailed work. You could try both and see which one works best for your painting style. Now, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive, fanciest watercolor paper. There are plenty of affordable options out there that meet the criteria that I just mentioned. But if we go out and buy paper that's any less quality than 100% cotton, 140 pound, in my opinion, it's literally a waste of money. So it's worth it to spend the few extra dollars to get a quality paper that you're actually going to be successful with. The second most important thing I've learned on this watercolor journey is that the path to success begins with failure. The chances of somebody picking up a paintbrush for the first time to paint a flower and having it be just the most beautiful masterpiece anyone has ever seen in their lives is highly unlikely. Those first attempts are, if you're like me, they're going to look like a second grader painted them. And that's okay, we all have to start somewhere. So don't be afraid to paint something ugly, because that's all part of the journey. There have been too many times where I've had ideas in my head of things I wanted to paint, or I've seen a tutorial that I really want to do, and I stop myself and say, oh, there's no way I could do that. If I try that, it's going to look horrible. Well, so what? I'm guaranteed to learn something along the way. If I never even pick up the paintbrush and try, then none of that learning will ever happen. I can't explain to you what a brush that's too wet or too dry feels like. You're going to dip your brush in some water, pick up some paint, and attempt to paint a flower and see that water is pooling up in spots on your petal, and you'll think, oops, too much water. Or you'll go in to paint a leaf and you'll have all of these dry pockets within your brush stroke and you'll think, oh, I need more water. And that's how you'll know what a paintbrush with too much or too little water on it feels like. Eventually, it will become second nature to you. You'll master water control because you know what it feels like to have a brush with the perfect amount of water on it. And that's also because you know what it feels like when there's too much or not enough. So all of the mistakes and failures we have on this watercolor journey should be viewed more as steps to success, because it's the only path that we can take to get there. The third and final most important thing I've learned is that the best discoveries happen when you aren't looking for them. When I started watercolor, I spent most of my creative time searching and looking for tutorials from other artists showing things that I wanted to learn how to paint. And you will absolutely learn so much from other artists, but make sure you set some time aside to learn from yourself. All of us have our own curiosities and trains of thought that other people don't have. Taking time to just explore with no agenda in mind is important. Don't have a plan. Just pretend like you're a kid again and play with the paint. When a question pops into your head like, what would happen if I used this shaped brush to paint this? Do it and find out. I wonder what would happen if I added a drop of water here. Try it and let's see. I've come up with some techniques for things this way that have really shaped who I am as an artist. Things I never would have learned from anybody else. And a lot of the things that you will learn from artists sharing tutorials are things that they themselves have discovered on their own, most likely when they were just messing around. You see, when we're following a tutorial, we're focused on doing everything exactly the way that the artist we're watching is doing it, and we want the end result to be a beautiful painting. And there's absolutely a time and a place for that, and so much that can be learned. However, that leaves no room for discovery. Sometimes we need to be intentional about grabbing a scrap piece of watercolor paper and not caring what it looks like when we're done. We're just playing with the paint. That strips away any fears we might have of ruining something by trying something new. If there's nothing to ruin, we have the freedom to explore. I hope that this video was helpful and that it gives you the information and the little boost you need to get started with watercolor. Get yourself some good quality paper, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and learn from other artists, but also be sure to learn from yourself. I would love to hear about some of the most valuable things you've learned about watercolor. Leave them down in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.